this idea from, and if he was like, if it was suggested to him by someone in the company, or if it was purely for his own personal gain, and how he would harvest them without the company being aware.
Yeah, my mind is on personal gain.
Okay.
In US dollars, not Bitcoins. Yeah.
Exactly. Some interesting news from China. They are attempting to end the console ban that was enacted in 2000. If you may recall, they were concerned about the, I think it was, emotional and psychological effect of consoles on their people. And we just talked in the last segment with Colby about depression and about how a lot of studies were done in China to correlate, to see the internet and video game use and correlations between that and depression, interestingly enough, from a government that's banned consoles.
Right.
But now they are considering bringing Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. They would need approval still from the culture-related authorities.
Yes, the cultural minister from the central government would have to give it his or her, well, his blessing. So,
yes, and he has not yet, but Microsoft is really basically pushing this, just saying they're always evaluating, other markets, and obviously they want China pretty badly. So they're having discussions to end this, and so there we go.
I mean, APR is always a huge market for everyone, and there's a lot of companies that still see China as a huge untapped market, especially when it comes to technology. Remember a few years ago the whole snafu with Google and their operations in China, because Baidu is how everything runs in China instead of Google searches, and it's run by the central government, and everything is censored and you can't look up certain things, and it's so it's kind of like, yeah, there's a huge potential market there, but again, you have to have stuff like cultural ministers having to bless certain things from happening, and again, coming from the central government, that's not always a huge chance of that happening, especially when it comes to technology. As they call the Great Firewall of China, isn't really going to change in the near future, in my opinion.
That's true, and I'm surprised they're even considering Microsoft, considering what we talked about, several shows ago, and currently, and the fact,
Yeah.
if you're going to make a console that includes your entire entertainment center and is always connected to the internet, or not always anymore, but was, why would you consider such a thing for, someone who wants to limit the information getting
Right,
to and from?
unless they have some other use for it.
Spying on
Like,
their own citizens? I'm sorry, did that come out of my mouth?
well, yeah, it's not really a secret, so. I mean, they've got like full files on everybody there, from what I understand.
Speaking of Xbox, there is a petition out to overturn the bring back DRM, basically.
I
Basically saying that we were uninformed and not marketed to correctly, and that, the fact that this is basically Steam and that we were not informed of that, and it was, portrayed as this, awful devil in disguise and marketed so poorly that really that was a disservice to people that were buying, and that we need to overturn this. And now that we are informed, we can make this decision to do so. It's only been signed by 1,053 people, so I think this is
it's
just
up
like
to
a flash
it's up
in the
to
pan.
5,000.
Is it?
It's up to
Compared, that's
5,000.
nothing. That's nothing. Why is it even in the news?
It's nothing. Look, I read this, and that meme of Fry from Futurama where it's just like him staring, and it's just like not sure if this is real or just a troll. That was me for a good 10 minutes. I stared at the story, and I don't know if this is just a troll or somebody's just trying to get a rise out of Microsoft or what's going on, but it just seems very strange to me that after so much backlash after E3 and such a public outcry and such a huge backpedal on all of their DRM policies, that all of a sudden there's some people that are be like, no, wait, no, that was awesome. We want that again. It just doesn't seem real. It's like, I think I read somewhere, this is the best analogy I could find, and I wish I could attribute this to a site, but it's like a dog asking for their leash to be tightened. And that's the best way I can come up with it. Or best way, again, someone else came up with it that I, sadly, am not attributing correctly. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, there are certain benefits that could have come with those DRM policies that, sure, we're not going to have anymore because things are going to operate a lot like they do in the 360 generation. So online sharing of games, that is rendered a little difficult without the always on or the 24-hour check-in and the other stuff they're going to do. But in my opinion, if you want that, the losses far outweigh the gains for something like that. Kotaku actually did a story on sports gamers in particular, saying that the always on could have been beneficial for sports gamers that kind of play with a subscription, and it would be easier for them to have kind of a central, always updated file set for their game instead of having to, go out to an EB or Best Buy and buy the game every iteration whenever it comes out. So,
FIFA.
yeah, I mean,
Always comes back to FIFA.
it always comes back to FIFA and Madden. It always comes back to FIFA and Madden. So there's definitely certain points that I can see that, yeah, there could have been some benefit there, but I just think that the bad way outweighs the good, and there's just so many people that just hate the concept that there's no way this piddly little less than 10,000 petition's even going to do anything. If you look at some of the comments on the petition, it's actually it's just more evidence that it could possibly be a troll. Because what does the petition say? Give me back the DRM that was promised as E3. This was the future of gaming, and I want it back. That's it. That's what the petition text is. And all the comments for it are just kind of like, okay, I'm going to sign this petition so you can give it to them so there's less people playing on the PSN while I'm playing my PS4. And it's just like people that are supporting the petition are just, they're not people that are just like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. It's like, here, somebody signed on and say, here's an idea, pass this petition, but only give it to the people that signed the petition and leave the rest alone. So, I mean, just reading through the comments, I'm like, this can't be real. This is something that somebody figured it'd be fun to troll everybody for, and they were wildly successful, and now you have this as a news story everywhere.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, here's one I will need some help with. Google Glass.
Okay. Google Glass, yes.
Yes, which I have not used and don't really know a lot about, but there are now some basically games specifically for Google Glass, and they call it Glass Battle. And they talk about glass holes, which I don't understand either. There's only a few thousand of them to date, and they're going to be walking around soon, is what they say. Brick Simple, which is a company, has just released a game called Battleship, which we may all know. It's apparently perfect for Google Glass because you don't have to be staring at the thing the whole time. You can just do a move, walk away, come back. It doesn't really require network connection.
Right. I saw the video. It actually seems pretty non-obtrusive for kind of the people that are playing it. Obviously, I do not have a Google Glass because not only did I not win the contest, but I wasn't about to shell out $1,500 if I did win said contest, so I don't have it at my house. So I rely on videos from the internet. But from what I've seen, Google Glass and all of their APIs works, all the stuff that's done for Google Glass works on the Mirror API.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, as far as I can see, works on cards. So you can take these static cards and you can kind of push them around so they show up on your screen. You can overflow text or images over to a different card or multiple cards. But so far, with the API, the images are very static. So what Brick Simple, which is a company based in the great state of Pennsylvania, by the way, decided to do is they really just wanted to push that system and see what it can do and see kind of what they can get with it. So, and again, this is just from reading and what I understood from it. From what the Mirror API does is the Google Glass itself isn't really running anything. It's just kind of a monitor almost. And what it's doing is whenever it's pushing back and forth, you're not actually pushing back and forth directly with other Glass devices. It's still going through Google servers, through the Mirror API, and then hitting back and forth. That's what I understand it. If anybody out there is watching that has an Explorer Edition, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. That's my understanding of it. So what this Battleship game is using those cards to kind of, in your field of vision while you're walking down the street, really in the very upper right corner, it's kind of got a couple of grids, and you could just walk around calling out numbers to see if you get hit or miss on somebody you're playing against. So, just walking
That'll
down
be
the
fun
street.
in the grocery store.
E5! Right, I'm just waiting for somebody to break down while jogging in the park saying, oh, you sunk my battleship. That's what I'm waiting for.
Nice.
Because it's their fault for jogging to begin with.
I should be punished for that.
Yes. But yeah, so what they're doing is, I saw the video, it's actually kind of cool. So you call out the number that you want to make a strike against, and then that translates and then tells you whether it's a miss or a hit. And right now, again, because the APIs are still a little bit basic, it does seem a little static with the way that the cards, are being shown to you. But I think that's something that if Google makes a little more changes in their APIs and makes things a little more robust, then they're going to have a lot more stuff to work with. So people that do have the developer edition will have a few more toys to play with. But this is kind of a good start for glass gaming, for lack of a better word, because everybody's kind of concerned with apps and AR and what it can do. And you just had that great interview about the Castar glasses. This is way the other side of the spectrum from that. With instead of kind of projecting a mini virtual reality, everything is augmented reality as your field of vision is in front of you. So it's a little bit different, but kind of there's a lot of these type of devices coming out.
Yes.
And in this case, this is the first time where you're seeing something that's just like, okay, well, instead of an app, we're going to look at a game for the glass, which is kind of exciting.
It's actually the second game for the glass. There was one that came out called Starfinder, but it was supposed to be really pathetic, and so they don't really even mention it as a game.
It shouldn't be mentioned as a game. This is
Okay.
let me correct that. This is the first one that is actually functional as a game.
Okay, there you go.
Google, yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right, well, that is all the tech I have. I know you have something you wanted to talk about regarding Mario, perhaps, but this is all the tech news, so go ahead and you can subject it up.
It was very strange. Like, I was reading some stuff earlier this morning that started talking about how Nintendo execs are talking about how 90% of today's new gamers can't beat level 1-1 in Mario Brothers.
Like
the
You're talking
original,
like old school Mario,
the
like
8-bit Mario NES that came with the NES. The double cartridge that came with Duck Hunt.
yes.
Yeah, that one.
Why? Why can't?
What it seemed to be is it was just kind of somebody talking about how games are easier now than they used to be. And apparently there was some kind of translations that kind of went screwy, and it became, 90% of gamers can't beat 1-1. Which I dispute
that. I dispute that.
Yeah, but because it doesn't seem right to me. Mario's level 1-1 was, that's a lot of people in my generation. That was the first level of any video game that we'd ever played.
Exactly.
And sure, we might have died a couple times when we were 7, but
well, they have Mario for the DS, which is very strikingly similar, I believe you recall. So if it's on a DS and people play it all the time, I'm pretty sure they can handle the old school Mario.
Right, but I will agree that games are getting kind of easier, and we're kind of being a little. I don't know. I go back and play my old school games, and I'm just not as good at them. Like,
Really?
yeah. So you get those anthology packs that come out for the last gen consoles for the old NES and SNES games. So I have the Mega Man pack.
Oh, I love Mega Man.
It's like it's Mega Man 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, and I just keep dying on the Airman stage in Mega Man 2. And I'm like, when I was 10, this was the easiest thing in the world. Like, I would just, I had all the platforms timed. I didn't lose any lives. I went back. I knew all the order of which Robot Masters to grab, and I'm just like, is it me? Have I just been pampered too? Is this how this works? And I mean, there is some evidence to that. If you look at some of the games, I think it was the first God of War that Sony put out. It's I think they actually made it easier in the American versions because American gamers couldn't handle how difficult it was in Japan. I can't verify that, but that is something that I heard going around, which I believe.
I believe that too.
God of War was
pretty hard, I thought, even the first
It was plenty
one.
hard here, yeah. But I would totally believe that it was harder on the Japanese version if, Mario the Lost Levels is any indication of
Exactly.
that being true.
I find Borderlands 2 very difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to grind through that. It's a tough game. I mean, it doesn't give you an inch, I don't think.
Now, would you say it's because of the controls? Because now you got so many more buttons. You look at the NES, you got A, B, and that's
I
it.
think so. I mean, I'm not super familiar with consoles. It's kind of one of the few games I do play on it, so I do find that the buttons are an issue, but it's just the fact that you die. It requires a lot of skill. I mean, you have to duck and cover. You have to jump out, you have to shoot things, then duck and cover again. You have to just make sure that you're not, too low on health, that people surround you very easily. It's just a lot of bad guys at once. And
Right.
I think that the gameplay itself is pretty difficult. You die a lot, and you have to run through the entire zone, like, again and again and again.
Yes, the classic die and run
Yes.
method.
Even new you, I mean, you have to do it before they spawn, too. Like, okay, new you, fine, like, regen, run through, hope they don't spawn. You can get maybe 3 or 4 out of those, and if you don't make it all the way through, they respawn. You have to start all over again. It's happened to me many times.
Speaking of, I'm going to get out my old NES, like either today or tomorrow, and plug it in and get out Mario, blow in the cartridge, and slam it into the system, and see how I do on that. Because I haven't played that outside of an emulator in probably a good decade, maybe 2. Yeah.
Nice. Every once in a while, I'll get the original PlayStation out and play silly games like Toomba or something.
The
Nice.
PlayStation 1 has some good classics on there, too.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the tech I have. Anything else you want to say before we close up?
No, that's about it. I guess, those are kind of the major things going on right now. So,